Good morning. My name is Randolph Mapp, and welcome to the Rising Ride Mastermind call group. This call was started actually on September the 8th by Tamika Williams. And just to give you a quick description of this, the purpose for this call, no individual has sufficient experience, education, native ability, and knowledge to ensure the accumulation of a great fortune without the cooperation of other people. This concept was given to us by Napoleon Hill in his wonderful book, timeless classic, Think and Grow Rich. We thank everyone for tuning in this morning to the call. We hope that you are ready to start your day with vision, start your day with purpose. I hope that you've said your affirmations, your I am statements. I am intelligence, I'm greatness. I am a king, I'm never without because God never runs out of anything, something along those lines. Today, excuse me real quick. Today we'll be talking about being brave. Just to give you a quick definition, I'm not Webster, but being brave can be defined as being able to face danger, pain, or uncertainty of a particular situation or event without fear, without being afraid. In addition to that, I was gathering some information, and I saw a quote by Nelson Mandela, the great late Nelson Mandela, and it says, "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear." Again, that was by Nelson Mandela. I was like, wow, that's real cool. But what kind of triggered my mind to go in this direction this morning, I came back last night from a meeting, and I was catching the tailspin of this young lady. I hope I'm saying her name right, Lizzie Velasquez. She was diagnosed from birth with a rare illness that only 1 in 3 people have on the planet that doesn't allow her to gain weight and some other issues. And she's very disfigured, just to be honest. But, she took her adversities that she was born with, and has made a powerful movement out of it, the Stop Bullying campaign. Because, her life as she was growing up, she was taunted, bullied, to the point where I don't know how I would feel if my child was placed in that position. I would probably be somewhere right now besides this call. But she took her adversity and won, and she's gaining the support of over 200 sponsors, spreading her message about, bullying and how this is being, how it is affecting, other people on a daily basis, and when I saw that, I said, wow, that's bravery just in its rarest form, because, it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of God, it takes a lot for someone, they even had her compared to like the ugliest woman in the world, and for her, to use that as a catalyst to ignite what her mission is, it's just simply beautiful to me. And that, like I said, triggered my mind into, talking to everyone on this call today about being brave. Now, being brave isn't always about being a hero, Batman, or Wonder Woman. I know I'm kind of going, maybe showing my age on that, but it's not always about being a hero doing those unusual superhero things, because it can also be as simple as just trying something new, taking a risk of trying something new. In addition to that, we all have come face to face with giants in our lives, whether those giants might be decisions, illness, family matters, personal issues. In fact, someone listening today on the call, or who might even check it out on SoundCloud, might be going through a dilemma in their life right now. And It's during these moments when we are being placed in this position where we have to become brave. Or you can either run, but the real deal is that the problem is still going to be there. The issue is not going anywhere. It's not about reacting. It's about how you respond to the situation. On a personal note, I could just share a little bit about me. You know, I was going through a lot, like I said, for almost 10 years. And I had to make a decision, a life-changing decision, you know, whether to continue going down this dark road of destruction, or do I make a change and try a new way of living, so to speak. And so it was a very scary moment because I had tried all kind of alternatives, all types of ways of getting some relief from the situation that I was going through. But I had to become brave enough. I had to just really have a real God moment, a real spiritual moment, and just realize that, you know, I had exhausted all of my resources, and I had to go to a resource I had to go to a higher power, or to God whose resources are never short on anything. But I just had to be brave enough to ask him to give me the strength to do this until I was strong enough on my own to handle this particular situation. And so that's what I did. I in order to be brave, just number one, I can't talk about being brave without not mentioning the name, or without saying God. You know, it's just not in my story anyway. That's just the way it is, and I don't apologize for that. If I offend anyone, I will talk to someone about that. But you know, God is my everything. He is the reason why I can be brave, as far as even, like I said, on something simple, by being on this call, sharing, you know, personal things that I've gone through, or any of the other hosts that might talk on the call every morning. It takes a lot of courage to get on the phone and to be transparent, as one of our messages were. You know, it takes a lot. And my relationship with God has really transformed who I am, who was a fearful little boy, into a mature young man. Also, when I think about, you know, being brave as I was a child, there are many stories in the Bible that I love so dearly, and a lot of times in that wonderful book, I like to substitute whoever's name is in the story with my name, because in each individual story, including some of the stories that even Jesus went through, you can substitute whether your name might be Linda or Randolph or Gregory or whatever. And you too can say, hey, I've been in this situation, and see how the particular individual overcame whatever they might be going through. But just the story in particular as a child that really did spark my interest was the story of David. Probably hundreds of other people love the story of David. But, I mean, coming from a very humble background, you know, his people were going through a fearful time, you know, and he was brave enough to face a giant, you know, and just how he overcame it and conquered this giant, you know, was simply magnificent. You know, he wasn't fearful. You know, they tried to dress him in a warrior's uniform, and it was too big for him, you know, but he had to be just who he was. He was that shepherd boy who knew how to protect his flock by the resources and the tools that God had given him. And by utilizing those tools in that particular situation, you know, not looking at what man was saying, not listening to the naysayers, not listening to his haters, you know, he said, oh, well, you know, if God did this, you know, when I was watching these sheep over here, certainly he can do it for this giant, you know. And we all know how the story goes. He's slaying Goliath, and later on he becomes king, and then he has some adversities in life. But I love that story because it shows just the resilience of the human spirit, and especially as a child. And I know when we get older, as we face more rejections, as we face more no's, as we face more, disparities in life, we begin to become afraid just with, stepping out and doing different things. But the thing is, you know what I'm saying, that same God is still there when you were a child as when he's there at your current age right now. So it's just important for us to realize that, we will face giants in our life every day. It might not be a Goliath, but you're a giant nevertheless. And that you have to have God with you when you're going through these times of trouble, of pain, of disparity. Not to be fearful, but to know that you're not alone, that he is there, and that you should also surround yourself with positive, like-minded people as well. Would anybody else like to chime in on the call real quick before I continue?
Yes, this is Tamika. I just want to chime in real quick on the story that you were talking about the Lizzie Velasquez. I had the chance to read the story, and I do understand that if anybody's listening to this call, if you actually Google the ugliest woman in the world, this woman will actually come up, because this is something, it actually, gave me some inspiration when I read her story, because she took on the name. She said, okay, if this is what you're going to call me, this is what I'm going to go by. And since you want to call me this, I'm going to spread the message and use this. And she kind of gave thanks to bullies, because she accepted it, and it takes bravery to accept a lot of turmoil that you went through in your life. If you realize a lot of people listen to stories of how people, achieve great success, but there's something backing that great success. There's something that took them to that great burning desire, where they went through a tragedy in their life. So it's like you may hear about, some rapes, some molestations, whether it's Oprah, some Tyler Perry, people, who have achieved great wealth in their life, but they're carrying this story with them, and they're not afraid to be transparent, because there's bravery in being transparent. Once you accept what has happened to you, you use it, and you're not afraid to tell your message. That takes you to a whole nother level of bravery. I've overcome something major in my life, and you go ahead and you put it out there in the atmosphere. And when you give your speeches, when you give your motivation, when you help someone out, a lot of people don't realize that we've been through something so serious, something so traumatic. A lot of people look at you and they see that, oh, life is great for you, everything looks cool, but they don't know the seriousness that you've overcome, how brave you've had to be in your life. It's like it's a blessing to not look like what you've been through. But that's all I want to say. Go ahead, Randolph.
Thank you so much for that. I mean, just to put it out there, I'm going to put it out there. I'm a recovered addict and alcoholic. So when I talk about that dark spot that I was in, where I was, that's the dark spot that I'm talking about. And just to come out and say that, on a day-to-day basis, whether it's at work, whether I'm at church, whether I'm just talking to anybody on the street, as Tamika just reiterated, once people know my story, or whatever your story might be, whether you were faced with an illness that almost took your life, or whether you were in a financial situation where you did not see a way out, or just whatever this calamity that you thought might have been that was hopeless became hope to someone else. It's amazing how your story can change and touch so many people's lives. So I'm not saying that, your story might be like mine, because it's not, because you are who you are. But your story, your triumph over adversity is hope to someone. Just like Lizzie Velasquez, I hope I'm saying her name right, again, like her story triggered me to say, hey, whatever it is that we're going through, don't run away from it. Be brave enough to face it, and have God with you while you're going through whatever it is that you might be going through. Because he's going to see you through, whether you come out of it or whether you don't come out of it. He's still there nevertheless. Even in your dying moment, that bravery of you knowing that, it's all good gives life. I can think about, before my grandmother passed, I I didn't see her on her deathbed take her last breath, but I remember her last statements that she said, and she looked in a different countenance this time as she was talking, and she was like, this was done, that was done, this was done. And it was just so inspirational to see her be so strong, almost as if she was having an out-of-body experience, but she was saying, I've done my job down here. And then shortly, a few days after that, she was gone. But I hold on to that on a day-to-day basis. You know, from time to time, I think about that, and I'm like, oh, man, she had that bravery. She had that courage to finish her course, even in spite of being in pain and all of this, but to do God's will. You know, I can do it, too. And the real deal is you know, it can also become contagious. I mean, when I think about bravery, I can't help but think about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You know, I mean, one of the bravest. People who are brave aren't afraid to die. They're afraid not to live what their purpose is in life. You know, so if you don't get anything out of this message today, I hope you got something about being brave, about you know, knowing that, you know, you can make a change in your life on the grand scale or on a small scale. Would anybody else like to share anything else? Okay, well, I'd like to thank everyone for listening in to the call this morning. Again, be brave, do something different. Don't forget to say your affirmations. Please share this call with a friend or a loved one. Tell them to join the call every morning at 9 o'clock. Check us out on SoundCloud. Thank everyone for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
All right.